In the quietest moments of the night, I feel the weight of how you've completely transformed me, torn down my walls, and somehow made me feel alive in ways I never thought possible. You ruin me in the best way, leaving me in awe of how much someone can shift the very core of who I am. Every time I think I've figured it out, you sweep in like a storm, making me question everything I thought I knew. The way you unravel me, piece by piece, is terrifying, but I wouldn't want it any other way. There's a certain beauty in the chaos you bring into my life. It's not the kind of ruin that leaves destruction, but the kind that forces growth, understanding, and a love so deep that it's impossible to ignore. I thought I was whole before you, but you've shattered the image I had of myself in the most wonderful way, leaving behind the pieces that are now better, more open, and more true to who I was always meant to be. You've ruined me, but it's not a destruction. It's a transformation, a beautiful, painful, heart-wrenching reshaping of everything I thought I understood about love, passion, and vulnerability. There's a feeling that comes with being torn apart by love, but it's not an emptiness. It's a filling of the soul, a deep knowing that every broken part is worth it when it leads me closer to the truth of who we are together. I am not the same because of you. You've pushed me to my limits, challenged every belief I held, and now I see the world through a lens I never knew existed. You ruin me, but it's a kind of ruin I'm grateful for. Love has never felt like this. You've taken me to places I never thought I'd go, exposed my deepest fears, and yet here I am, willingly falling deeper into the chaos you create, because somehow it feels like home. You've turned my world upside down, and for the first time in my life, I'm not afraid of the disarray. You've ruined me in the most beautiful way, leaving me with nothing but raw, unfiltered emotion and a heart that's finally open. In a world full of uncertainty, you've become my anchor and my storm all at once. I never imagined being ruined could feel so liberating, but here I am, completely consumed by your presence in the most wonderful way. You've shown me that ruin isn't something to be feared. It's a process of unmasking, of stripping away everything that isn't real, until all that remains is something pure and true, something that only you and I can understand. Before you, I thought I knew love, but you've shattered every preconceived notion I had. You've ruined me, yes, but in doing so, you've opened me up to a version of myself I didn't know was possible. The way you tear down my walls, the way you invade my mind, it's almost overwhelming, but in that moment of vulnerability, I realize You're not ruining me. You're helping me uncover the parts of myself that I've hidden for so long. Every touch, every word, every glance, it all chips away at me. But instead of breaking, I'm becoming more whole. You ruin me, yes, but in the best way possible, by making me see my own strength, my own beauty, in ways I never could before. It's not easy to admit that someone has the power to destroy your carefully built defenses, but you've done it. And in doing so, you've shown me how beautiful it can be to be vulnerable, to feel, to give without hesitation. There's a kind of love that consumes you, slowly, deeply, and though it feels like you're losing control, it's really the first time you've ever truly felt alive. You ruin me, but in the most exhilarating, breathtaking way. I used to think love was about being together, staying whole, never changing. But you've shown me that love is about being torn apart and rebuilt, a constant evolution of who we are, individually and together. You ruin me, and I thank you for it. The more you enter my heart, the more you unravel everything I thought I knew about myself. And yet, each unraveling, each tiny destruction only makes me love you more. You ruin me, and it's the most beautiful destruction I've ever known. It's not about the way you make me feel in the moment, but the way you've changed the way I see everything. You've ruined me, yes, but you've opened up parts of me that were once closed, and now I can't imagine living without this. Before you, I was afraid of love that consumed me, but now I crave the way you tear me down, the way you reshape me with every glance, every touch. You ruin me, but in the best way, leaving me stronger and more alive than ever. I never knew it was possible to feel so torn, so divided between the chaos and the calm, until you entered my life. You ruin me, but it's a beautiful kind of destruction, one that leads me to understand who I am, who we are, more deeply. You have a way of making me question everything, and yet, instead of feeling lost, I feel found. You ruin me in the best way, taking me apart and putting me back together in ways I never could have imagined. Love, at its purest, isn't about perfection. It's about vulnerability, mess, and being willing to let someone break you so they can rebuild you better. You ruin me, and I am grateful for every single piece of that. There's something so powerful about being loved this intensely, this completely. You've ruined me in a way that feels like freedom, a freedom to be everything I was always meant to be, even if it's messy, raw, and completely exposed. Each time I think I've understood you, you show me something new. Each time I think I've reached the deepest part of me, you pull me even further down, leaving me breathless. You ruin me, but in the most thrilling way imaginable. You've wrecked my heart, my mind, and everything in between. But instead of feeling lost, I feel found in the wreckage. Your ruin isn't destruction, it's the rebirth of everything I as once thought was impossible. There's a beauty in the chaos you bring. You tear me apart, piece by piece, and yet each piece is a part of me that's more honest, more real, more alive than it ever was before. You ruin me, but I wouldn't want it any other way. It's terrifying to feel like you're being undone, but in the process, I've come to realize that I'm being put together in a way that's so much more beautiful than I ever imagined. You ruin me, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. In your eyes, I see everything could be raw, vulnerable, unfiltered. You've ruined me, yes, but it's not a destruction. It's a liberation. And for that, I'm thankful beyond words. You have a way of making me feel like I'm completely falling apart, but in the most beautiful way. Each moment with you strips me down to my core, and in the process, I find something I never knew existed. You ruin me, and I wouldn't change a thing. I used to think love meant keeping things intact, keeping everything under control. But you've shown me that love is about letting go, about falling apart and trusting that the pieces will come together in ways we can't yet see. There's a kind of love that makes you feel like you're on the edge, constantly teetering between control and chaos. And yet, even on the edge, I feel more alive, more myself than I ever have before. You ruin me, but it's the best kind of ruin. The way you look at me, like you see straight through to the deepest parts of my soul, it breaks me in a way that's strangely freeing. You've ruined me, but it's not a destruction. It's a gift that makes me more than I ever was before. It's not easy to let someone into your life so completely, so deeply, but you've found your way into my heart, into my very being. You ruin me, and in doing so, you've shown me a version of myself I never knew existed. I used to fear the idea of being torn apart, of losing control, but now I crave it. I crave the way you make me feel like I'm falling into the deepest part of myself, only to find something more beautiful there. You ruin me, but I am better for it. There's a rawness to love when it's real, a beauty in the mess it creates. You've ruined me, but instead of leaving me empty, you've filled me with a deeper understanding of what it means to truly love and be loved. You've taken my heart, shattered it, and yet, somehow, in the pieces, you've created something stronger, more powerful, more authentic than what was there before. You ruin me, but in the best, most life-changing way. I never knew love could feel like this. It's messy, it's complicated, and it's more beautiful than I ever could have imagined. You ruin me, but you do so in a way that makes me feel more alive than I ever have before. The more you love me, the more you tear me apart. But with each tear, I am reborn. You ruin me, yes, but you also show me who I am meant to be. Raw, open, vulnerable, and real. You've found the places in my soul that I didn't know were there, and you've unlocked them with the gentlest touch. You ruin me, but instead of breaking me, you've built me into something more powerful, more beautiful. There's a beauty in the way you tear me apart. It's not destructive. It's a process of rediscovery, of peeling back layers and finding the truth of who I am, who we are beneath it all. You ruin me, and I'm thankful for every moment of it. Love is a paradox, a beautiful contradiction, and you are the perfect example. You ruin me, but in doing so, you show me that I am stronger, braver, and more alive than I ever thought possible. You've come into my life like a whirlwind, and with every touch, every glance, you've torn me apart. But instead of losing myself, I've found the deepest parts of who I am, parts I never knew existed. You ruin me, but I am better for it.